Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussion on the variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, the new Powerpuff Girls, and Star vs. the Forces of Evil, among others. I'm Justin Cummings, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
Michelle and I, the OVA originals, as I like to call us, get that trending. I'm telling you guys, I love it. We are here for a very special Steven Universe Roundtable, entitled Jasper 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Do we normally title our
We are
thing?
now.
Oh no, it's another new... Okay, alright. This is a lot of change.
This is a lot of change. Change is good. Change is powerful. So yeah, we did a Jasper Roundtable months ago. Back then, the only Jasper information we had to go off of was, of course, the return and jailbreak, Chillatide, and I think Watermelon Island or Super Watermelon Island had aired at this point.
No, it had not.
Was this pre-Super Watermelon Island?
This was pre. This is like 3 episodes we had to go on.
So we had basically Jasper is orange, Jasper's mean, Jasper's stuck under the ocean. And we've had a lot more since then, folks. Jasper probably had the most development/development in season 3. Now being stuck, corrupted, and bubbled. So we've had so much happen with Jasper, we thought it would be great to do another roundtable. We wanted to not just talk narratively about Jasper, but Jasper's character and like what Jasper's character means, like for the show, for animation as a whole. Just kind of really get into the characterization of Jasper, you know, get to the heart of the issue. Jasper's a very controversial character in the fandom, and we want to have a good, hard-hitting discussion, right, Michelle?
Hard-hitting. Okay, yeah, let's do it.
So, of course, you can find this podcast, the original Jasper Roundtable, and all our podcasts and blogs and all that great stuff at overlyanimated.com. You can search Overly Animated on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. I know now we're on Google Music, I think, and Stitcher.
Huh.
Do you use Stitcher, Michelle? Have you started stitching?
I've never heard of Stitcher. What is Stitcher?
I don't know. I don't know, but we're
you don't know either.
Great. Yeah, if you're listening on Stitcher, leave us a comment somewhere. I don't know how you do that on Stitcher, but leave us a comment somewhere. Just say, hey, all right, let's get right into it. I have a wonderful outline here for us. First, guys, we're going to talk about the news, just a little bit of news that came out of New York Comic Con last weekend. Then we're going to dive into Jasper. We're going to give a great quote from Rebecca Sugar to kind of open up the discussion. Then we're going to talk about Jasper's relationship to Peridot, then Lapis, then Amethyst, then Rose Quartz, then Steven. Then we're going to talk about Jasper and corruption. Then we're going to talk about should Jasper return, and then we're going to wrap things up. So let's get right into it with the New York Comic Con news. First off, Gem Harvest has officially been announced as the next episode. I'm pretty sure it's the next episode. Is that confirmed?
Yeah, it's confirmed.
So Steven will return from hiatus with Gem Harvest. We were all so excited, thinking, will we finally learn what Peridot meant when she said, "Are you going to harvest me?"
I know, this is what always happens.
And what do we get? A 30-minute episode of Lapis and Peridot on the farm.
Farmers, yeah.
Old Nick Peridot had a farm is the episode we're getting. Now, granted, we've only seen 2 minutes of it, and the 2 minutes we saw is Tractor Peridot and you guys have already seen it if you're in the fandom at all. You've seen Pumpkin Dog. You love Pumpkin Dog. We all love Pumpkin Dog. What do you think of Pumpkin Dog, Michelle?
Pumpkin Dog's awesome. He's already generated a fair amount of fan art from what I've seen online, so he seems like a beloved character. He's like, you know, he's got... wasn't there like... Because I was going to say, we haven't seen like a pet...
Well, there was a watermelon dog in Super Watermelon Island.
Wait, there are watermelon chickens too. So I guess like this isn't a surprise that this is the thing. But
my favorite meme that's developed is it says me during the rest of the year and it's watermelon dog, and it's me during October and it's pumpkin dog.
Oh my god, I love that.
It's perfect. So there's a theory circulating right now that basically only the part we saw and like a little bit more is going to be really like harvesty, you know, fall, probably Thanksgiving. I expect some Thanksgiving stuff thrown in there, like the whole Gem family together. People are expecting a Holly Jolly Secret kind of switch up where the first 25 minutes of that episode are it's a Adventure Time Christmas episode if you're not familiar. First 25 minutes are rather dull. I mean, they're good, but it's nothing like special. Chill. It's just Christmassy stuff. You know, they're celebrating. Last 5 minutes is like, we're going to finally reveal Ice King's backstory out of nowhere. And it became one of the best known episodes because it explained literally everything you wanted to know about Ice King. It just left everyone's jaw dropped. People expect a lot of people think Gem Harvest is going to be similar. Where the first 20, 25 minutes are like that, and then at the end, they're like, oh, by the way, here's this horrible secret we've been keeping. See you all in January.
I mean, honestly, like, why would they make it a full half hour if it wasn't, right? If it's just, like, farming and the pumpkin dog, like how is that worthy? Yeah. The only other half hour is Bismuth, and Bismuth is, like, such a huge episode. So, I agree.
I've seen Thanksgiving specials from Cartoon Network before. Regular Show did it every single year, and Regular Show's Thanksgiving specials are good. I'm okay with a Thanksgiving special. But these shows, like Steven and Adventure Time, they only do half hour when there is something really, really important, like season finale or huge backstory worthy. Just something massive. I don't think that they're going to drop another 30-minute episode on us this soon after Bismuth, considering that Gem Harvest, or Bismuth, was the 100th episode. I don't think they're going to drop another 30-minute special within 10 episodes. I don't expect that. If it's not important.
Yeah, if it's not important, but I think it probably is. Yeah.
I think it would dilute evidence. The 30-minute special so much if it's just filler.
There's no way they'd do a half-hour filler episode. Like, that, I don't know. That doesn't add up at all.
Would I mind 30 minutes of Farmer Peridot? No. Do I expect that? No. It's like, this show has not done that to us, and I highly doubt they would. So that's probably the biggest news coming out of Comic-Con is Gem Harvest being a 30-minute special coming in November. The other news, we're getting another new episode at some point called 3 Gems and a Baby. Pretty sure this is about little baby Steven being raised. Pretty sure it's a flashback episode. They played a new song from it. Pretty sure it was confirmed to be by Greg.
Yeah, that's what people seem to be thinking.
So it seems like we're getting the next flashback episode, probably the only one we'll get in season 4, because they've been kind of doing one a season of the Greg flashbacks.
That's true, they have. Wait, was there one for season 1?
Steven's story for Steven is technically in season 1. Cartoon Network aired it out of order. So technically that's season 1. And it's kind of news-ish. Rebecca Sugar said she does, in fact, have an ending in mind for the show, but that's all she said.
We've known that since the first Comic-Con, though. Everyone always asks that, and she always does the same thing. Yes, I have an ending in mind, but given that the show could run for a while, things have changed, and, we're always adapting, but yes, there's an end date. We've known this for forever.
So, but it's nice to know that there is still some kind of plan. They're not just aimlessly going. I feel Adventure Time has just kind of gotten aimless at this point, where there's good stuff still, but it's just kind of gotten aimless.
I feel like Adventure Time started off being really aimless, and then around season 2, they decided to, do a lot of world building because they could, and then it became, way more thought out, but it's also still been kind of aimless in a lot of ways. But I feel like Steven Universe has always had a pretty strong idea of where it's going from the get-go, and that's one of the major differences.
Yeah, I agree. Steven Universe definitely seems to know where it's going a bit more than Adventure Time, or at least it seems so.
It's a different kind of show, but it is a distinction.
Adventure Time's almost anthology at this point, while Steven is very much a linear, strong narrative, a singular strong narrative. So that's all the stuff out of New York Comic Con. Not a whole lot. Let's jump in. The quote I found, this was interesting to me. It's from a Rebecca Sugar interview. It seems the interview was after the Amethyst stuff, I think. I'm assuming that's when this takes place. It's a very recent interview. The question was asked, this is from The Wrap, by the way, I'll probably post a link. After she's defeated by Steven and Amethyst, Jasper refuses the help that Steven gave to previous adversaries like Peridot and Lapis. Why is that? And Sugar's answer was, Jasper is very different than Peridot and Lapis. Unlike them, she has a deep hate for herself because of her origins on Earth. She is determined to never be weak or vulnerable. So at the point when she's the lowest, there's no way she'd ever accept help because she doesn't believe she deserves it. Peridot and Lapis both believed they deserved better than what happened to them, but not Jasper. She went back to Earth to face her demons, and she lost. She's consumed by her own self-pity. So what do you think about that, Michelle?
It's so interesting, and it's so nice because I think anyone who likes Jasper has been wanting like more context for like where she's coming from and why she is the way she is, and we finally got that in the last Jasper heavy episode. But like, it's so like, I know we're gonna like see, I don't want to like jump too much into this if we have like a nice outline to talk about, but I just like think it's so interesting because I think one person pointed out way back when she first got corrupted that like Jasper is like kind of one of those cases of somebody who like is told from a very young age that they're very gifted, and so like when they get a lot older and something like finally goes wrong, they just like crumble because they don't know how to handle it, because they've always been like that star person. And they feel like they deserve to feel awful because they aren't living up to everyone's expectations of who they should be. And in this case, that's like Jasper feeling like she's no longer like redeemable in Homeworld's eyes. And so she doesn't even want to bother having Steven help her. And that's like so interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's a shame that a lot of people kind of write Jasper off. A lot of people look at Jasper and look at especially the way she interacted with Lapis, and they see that I think people take the metaphor of fusion and they apply it to Jasper, and they can't separate the metaphor from the actual actions Jasper took, and they can't see past kind of the way they view that metaphor, and just because they apply worse to Jasper, I think, than Jasper actually did in context. And I think because of that, people are kind of blinded and can't just view Jasper without seeing that metaphor of like an abusive relationship or I mean, yes, there is definitely toxicity in the relationship, but I think people they can't see past the metaphor to our world, and the extent they've taken it to where they apply it to like real world relationships and real world non-consensual issues, and they can't separate that, which is all well and good, from what actually happened. And I think that blinds a lot of people from seeing so much interesting stuff with Jasper, but we don't look at it because so many people have written Jasper off as being just unredeemable.
To be fair, though, I mean, especially given like there's a lot you can take away from Jasper's fusion with Lapis and like what it means to you. Like that's one thing about fusion. Like it depending on who's fusing and like how you relate to it, you can get a lot out of it, and that can be different. So I hesitate to say like people are blinded and are just like being dismissive, because like a lot of people have had very traumatic relationships, and you know, even seeing something like this brought up in like a kid show context can be more than they want to handle right now, given that. And I think that's like fair. Yeah. But I also do think like Jasper is more than that, and a lot of the ways that some people might contextualize that fusion as like Lapis is like all good and Jasper is all bad is not really what we get. And so I definitely want to address that.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't agree with that kind of perspective at all. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you look at Jasper and Lapis, and we're going to kind of get into the context of like, we're going to go over like stuff that happened with Jasper as we get into each individual relationship. Yeah. I think I'd rather do that than just like an overarching history of the character that we've seen. I'd rather kind of break it down. But yeah, Jasper, I think so many people looked at Jailbreak, they saw the fusion, and they started trying to like extrapolate from that and just take different ideas and metaphors from it, which is fine. That's good. Do that with media. Please do that.
Yeah, do that.
However, that's not canon. However you interpret something is not canon. What's canon is her actual actions. And I think a lot of people have just not separated canon from the interpretation. And the show hasn't gone, like you said, the show has not gone there. And people can't assume that that's the only interpretation, and B, the metaphor is canon.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the best thing. That's going to, not just the best thing to talk about, that's going to be the most interesting issue of Jasper. And I think that's why Jasper's so controversial.
We will see.
This will be fun.
Get there. Yeah. Oh man.
There's gonna be.
It's always hard to talk about Jasper, but I really, really want to. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it now. First one we're going to talk about, like I said, Jasper and Peridot. So let's go with the history first. We see Jasper arriving with Peridot. That's actually the first way we know who Jasper is. Jasper's kind of Peridot's bodyguard, enforcer, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Jasper accompanies Peridot to check on the kindergarten. And then Jasper gets separated, of course, after the whole Malachite thing. Next time Jasper sees Peridot is in Earthlings, makes fun of and kind of gets after Peridot for being with the crystal gems, and then gets poofed by Peridot.
Yeah. So
the question a lot of people have asked, did Jasper know Peridot at all before they got on that ship to come to Earth?
Very briefly. I'm assuming once we realized that Jasper was like kind of a big deal, which was kind of, we didn't really know like where on the chain Jasper was until pretty recently. I think it was a situation where like she reported to Yellow Diamond, she's like, there's people on Earth, they're like breaking my stuff, and Yellow Diamond's like, oh geez, okay, well like who do we got who like would be interested in going back and who would be sure to take care of that problem? And Jasper is probably one of the first people that came to mind because it seems like she has a score to settle with the Earth in a way, so that's part of the motivation for wanting to go back. And also, she's been there before, so she knows the lay of the land, kind of. And she's like, she has a big deal, and she's like really strong and kind of awesome. So I think that, they maybe they knew each other for like a hot sec, but not very long after they started their mission, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely Peridot knows who Jasper is. It seems everyone at home, Jasper's a war hero, you know. I think everyone knew who Jasper was, but I think Peridot we saw in Message Received that Peridot's not that high ranking. Peridot's just she's just a Peridot.
And that's something that kind of comes into, because like I think before you see Jasper, Peridot's the most like threatening thing about Homeworld. Yeah. And then you see them together the first time and you see how scared of Jasper Peridot is, and you're kind of like, oh wow, okay, I thought Peridot was a big deal, but like look at this person's like a whole other level. Yeah. Which is really interesting.
Yeah, Jasper's definitely kind of the most intimidating threat we've seen from Homeworld, besides like Yellow Diamond. But Yellow Diamond's kind of like on another level. Like Yellow Diamond's she's like mythic. Diamonds. Yeah. But Jasper's just this incredible soldier. So there's not a lot here. But what do you think kind of about that second encounter between Peridot and Jasper in Earthlings?
I had like all these ideas of how her being reintroduced to Peridot would go once she realized she used a crystal gem. And like it wasn't as big a deal as I thought it was going to be. I think Jasper's were just like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, you two, like, really? Like, oh my God. Yeah. These guys are good. They got another one. Like, look how pathetic she is now. And, like, you kind of get more of a sense of Jasper's perspective of, like, why being a crystal gem is, like, so awful an idea for her. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it didn't quite go the way I expected, but it kind of like made sense that she just was like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, okay, another one, that's fine, whatever, this is your choice, Peridot, I don't care. Because again, she didn't really have much of a relationship with Peridot, so I guess like maybe that's why it didn't bother her as much. I don't know. Yeah, it's not like they were close. Like if they had served together, like in the army, or whatever the gem army betrayed, is. But she didn't really know Peridot at all. So the fact that Peridot changed that, she's like, okay, well, she must have been so weak that she decided to do that, but I'd never do that. Yeah. And I think the fact that Peridot didn't have her limb enhancers either was kind of a big, like a thing Jasper kind of wrote off as like, oh, you stripped her of her dignity and her status, so of course she joined you. Exactly, yeah, because Jasper's whole thing is like people only, from her perspective, people only want to join Rose if they're so beaten down and so desperate they have no choice, and they're willing to accept the strength that Rose offers them. And Jasper has way too much pride and is way too invested in Homeworld to ever do that. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, definitely Jasper seems... I think had Peridot still had her limb enhancers, Jasper would have been more surprised. But the fact that she didn't kind of just played right into Jasper's ideas. Everyone else who was like super pathetic and joined the crystal gems. Yes, true. Yep. So not much there, except if Jasper ever comes back, if Jasper becomes uncorrupted, will Jasper know Peridot's the one that poofed her? Because she was corrupted. I feel like Peridot might just say it and she'll be like, it was you? Like, you defeated me? And she'll be like, meep. Yeah, exactly. That's definitely a possibility if it could happen. So if Jasper comes back and becomes uncorrupted, do you think there'll be a lot of Peridot interaction or just every now and again? Oh, God. maybe every now and then. I don't know, because like Lapis shut Jasper down which like rightly so. She shut her down so hard. And Alone at Sea, but like I always thought Lapis would be the one to talk to Jasper, but I really don't know if that would happen. It's hard to say. I don't know who's going to talk to Jasper.
Well, I mean even if Jasper stays an antagonist.
Like, yeah, exactly. I don't think they can do that. No, just have like a corrupted Jasper running around. No. I think that'd be way too much of a problem. They would never let that happen.
I feel like we're gonna get like a where Jasper like is constantly corrupting and uncorrupting.
No, that would be so sad.
Yes, and it would be heartbreaking, and we would all feel bad and cry and scream "Curse you, Rebecca Sugar," and she would laugh as she collects our tears to create more episodes.
God.
Because that's how this works. Let's be real.
That's how this works.
Magic of television, folks.
Oh my God.
All right, so next on the list we have Jasper and Lapis. Here's the fun one.
Why didn't you put the second? Like,
because I wanted to do Lapis because that's like the big one. Let's get Lapis done.
Okay.
Then we'll get the Amethyst. Like we're gonna take Homeworld gems first. Then we're gonna do the Earth gems.
Okay.
And I mean, Amethyst will be a nice little cool down a bit from Lapis. Then we're gonna ramp it back up with Rose, and then Steven's just gonna wreck everything again.
Amethyst is a whole other kettle of. Something.
But that at least had some nice ending with the I got you, sis. There's at least some resolution there.
That's true.
There's no resolution right now with Lapis.
No resolution. She punched her off the ship, water fisted her off. Not resolution at all.
Yeah. So Jasper and Lapis.
Okay.
Let's get into the timeline of Jasper Lapis events.
All right.
We know Lapis leaves Earth on her water wings in Ocean Gem.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, she ends up at Homeworld.
Yeah.
At some point, Homeworld uses her as an informant, sends her back with Jasper and Peridot. They end up here. She stays on the ship when it crashes. Steven tries to save her. She tries to fly away. Jasper grabs her. Mm-hmm. Here's where a lot of people seem to get this twisted as to what actually happened. Jasper does grab Lapis, yes. She says, Lapis, fuse with me. I'm paraphrasing here. She says, fuse with me, we can defeat them, you can't let the crystal gems win, like this whole big speech about, we have to beat Earth, and Lapis looks angrily at the crystal gems. Steven's like, Lapis, don't do it. Lapis puts her hand out. She gives her hand to Jasper to fuse with. She makes the movement to fuse. Jasper didn't grab her and fuse with her. That's Lapis
one thing people seem to forget, because you can't. Fusion only works if both people are like willing to fuse and in agreement. Like that's why she couldn't say fuse the corrupted gem. It was like, I'm done. Nope, I'm out, and she could not fuse. Like both people. I mean, their agendas were very separate, but their willingness to fuse was like on both sides.
Had Jasper, when Lapis tries to fly away, had Jasper grabbed her then and fused with her, that would have been much, much, much worse. But she didn't. She let go. She asked her what she believed was her colleague, or not her colleague, but, her fellow soldier, her, not friend, but her ally, fuse with me to defeat the enemy. Because you got to keep in mind, Homeworld doesn't view fusion the way that Garnet views fusion. Homeworld's ideals on fusion are weaponry. Mm-hmm. Pure weaponry. So Jasper says, let's make this weapon, you and me, my ally, and beat the enemy. Jasper had no ideas of love. Jasper thought purely weapon. Lapis puts her hand out, they fuse, Lapis then takes over, drags them to the bottom of the ocean, where they remain stuck until Super Watermelon Island. We see Enchilotide, Jasper trying to escape.
Oh, can we point out something before we get too far? So, yes. I mean, my thing with what happened when they fuse is like, so Jasper is a pretty aggressive person. Yes. She's also kind of handsy at points. She like physically gets too close. She like grabs Lapis. Like that's all like not okay behavior. And I think the thing though is that when Lapis decided to become Malachite, she was deciding to, because she's been trapped like thousands of years. Mm-hmm. She felt like she was trapped again when she was an informant. And like again, like when she had a conversation with Peridot, and Peridot was like, I had no idea, like why can't we be friends? Like I'm different now. And Lapis is like, you can't be different because I associate you with like how trapped I was and how powerless I felt, and I never want to feel that way again. Like when she decided to become Malachite, she made a decision to take all that pent-up frustration and anger out on Jasper alone. Mm-hmm. And that's not, I don't want to say like that's not fair, but like that's not Jasper's fault. And Jasper suffered a lot at the hands of Lapis. And I think that's something
I feel like
sometimes people forget.
I feel like we only justify it because Jasper's like the bad guy and because Jasper did grab on to Lapis like that. But again, Jasper did not make Lapis fuse. Jasper may have been in the wrong and been too aggressive. Jasper didn't make Lapis fuse. We've seen Lapis. Lapis could have escaped a million different ways.
Way more powerful than Jasper, to be honest. If she didn't want to fuse, she wouldn't have. Yeah.
From the moment she got that look on her face and put her hand out, you can tell she has a plan in mind.
Yeah, she's made up her mind what she wants to do.
And I mean, we only justify it because Jasper's so bad and Jasper grabbed her and Jasper did this. She could have just as easily done it to Steven or Pearl or Amethyst or anyone else. Yeah, and we would have said, how terrible of her to take out her aggression on one person.
And you see that moment really quickly in Jailbreak when she like hits the wall and Peridot flinches. Like that's just kind of her personality. The fact that she decided to do it with a gem who's already like has a lot of like issues surrounding her autonomy and her agency. Like that was the last straw for Lapis. But there's no way Jasper could have known Lapis's full situation at the time or what that would do to her, you know?
Yeah.
So Jasper was really more in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah. And I mean,
with the wrong attitude than anything else.
And I mean, I get that I'm kind of playing devil's advocate a bit and that the popular opinion is no, Jasper is bad because Jasper grabbed her and Jasper did this. Lapis was Jasper's prisoner. Prisoners are not known, especially before stuff like Geneva Convention, for being treated well. Jasper grabbed her prisoner. That's not uncommon. That's it's not ideal, but in the grand context of things, you can kind of see from Jasper's perspective why she wasn't. The thing is, Jasper was on the wrong side of this war. From our perspective, Jasper's on the wrong side of history.
Not from Jasper's perspective.
Exactly.
I mean, I even hesitate to say Lapis was Jasper's prisoner. I feel like, at least in the context of like Peridot and Jasper, what happened is like, so Lapis comes back to Homeworld. Everyone's like, what the heck? Like, you've been gone for thousands of years. She's like, oh yeah, I was on Earth, like whatever. And then Peridot finds that out. And so when she goes back there, she's like, okay, I want people who have been to Earth before. So like Jasper has, Lapis has. And for her, she said she needed an informant. She doesn't say I needed a prisoner. They just wanted it's like somebody who's held for police questioning. You know, that's
may
not
have not been a prisoner in Jailbreak, but not in the Return, but in Jailbreak, we see her in the cell. She's just as much prisoner as Steven or Ruby or Sapphire or Pearl and Amethyst. She's in there with them. She's just as prisoner as anyone else.
I mean, I guess she probably wouldn't have been smashed if they'd gone back to Homeworld, do you think?
I don't know. That's the thing.
I don't know.
But it seemed especially like she was on a different level from Jasper and Peridot. And I mean, I'm not saying what Jasper did was right. I'm saying from Jasper's perspective, you can see what she was doing. It wasn't in context of the show. You can make whatever metaphor you want, but in context of the show, Jasper was being a general of an army. Jasper was being a ruthless general, mind you.
Being ruthless,
but she was doing her job.
She didn't, it wasn't any like special treatment for Lapis. It's just kind of how Jasper is. Which isn't like, again, like the best way to handle things and isn't a good quality in a person normally. But, you know, it's not like equivalent to what ended up happening to her after the whole.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, Jasper is not an abusive girlfriend. Jasper is a bad general. She's a ruthless military leader. You can make whatever metaphor you want, but in show, Jasper is a ruthless military leader.
Yeah, she picked the wrong gem to.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
So they end up trapped as Malachite. They finally break apart in Super Watermelon Island after the greatest kaiju fight I've ever seen. And then we see Jasper fall into the ocean. She comes back in Alone at Sea. We get that wonderful dialogue. And this is the last time we see Jasper with Lapis. So let's dive in here.
That's the thing thing too, though, because like we were saying, like, and then the show like went and confirmed all the things we were just saying, because Lapis' whole conversation with Jasper's like, I used you. I took all of my anger out on you. Right. I was awful to you. Like, she is saying that. Like, it's in the show. Like, that's what they were going for. It's not just us. Like, seeing this out of nowhere. Like, that's actually what the show wants you to take away from that, at least in part. And, like, Jasper's like, that's what makes it so, like, crazy. Because Jasper's like, she values Lapis' strength, and she loves, like, being strong is like her thing, right? That's what she's proud of. The fact that she's like such an exceptional specimen of strength. And the fact that she can be even stronger with Lapis, like, means that even though Lapis was awful and being in the fusion was just making her sick and just destroying her in so many other ways, like, she was not doing okay in Chilitude. We saw that for a fact when she's all chained up. She's not having a good time. She's willing to do that if she can have that strength again, a strength that she realizes now she can't have by herself. And the fact that Lapis is so not on board with that, I think, is part of what, like, really... she just doesn't understand it. She doesn't understand that because from her point of view, like, if fusion is only to, you know, be an asset to being strong, why wouldn't Lapis want to be strong with her?
Yeah.
You know, why would she reject her? And that strength, like, the way I always like the way she's like, we could fly. I just like, that's like the most, like, not like innocent, but just like the most like candid, like, awe we ever seen Jasper, and I think that's really telling in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jasper, again, the way she goes about things in Alone at Sea aren't ideal.
She gets like too close to Lapis. She makes it personal, so she keeps pushing the issue when she already said no. Like, that's all not good conduct.
But the thing is, you can tell Jasper's not in the right state of mind. Jasper is not okay right now. Jasper is not... She's not the same Jasper we saw in Jailbreak or Return. She seems almost desperate. It's almost the way she looks is almost like
was really hard on both of them, but I think probably especially for Jasper because like she's willing. Again, I think they both know it was like a toxic relationship. Yeah. Jasper's like, I don't care. I'm willing to do that. Like, if you need to take all your aggression out on me, like, I'll just do it because. You know, and I think part of it's like they refused for so long, and so it's comfortable, and it's like, you know, what Jasper thinks she needs, but neither of them need that. Neither of them should doing it because it's for all the wrong reasons. And Lapis says as much, you know.
Right, definitely. Lapis talks about how Jasper, it's not good for either of them, and how you can tell in her talk that she's not just concerned about her. You can see the bit of concern before Jasper kind of gets a bit too close. You can see the concern she has for the fact that Jasper's just completely, she's not okay. She's desperate. She has no other thoughts at this point except refusing. She does not have it's scary almost. Yeah,
it is scary.
And you can see almost you can see this kind of pang of sympathy Lapis has for Jasper, and it's so hard to kind of articulate the words for this because we haven't seen anything like this really in television, especially not in animation. Well, just this complex storyline. And the thing is, they built up Jasper as the big antagonist. I wouldn't say May and Yellow Diamond's probably the main antagonist, but they built Jasper up as this antagonist. And then we see her just defeated in this episode. She's broken. She's a shell of her former self. And I think it's when Lapis punches her into the ocean that we see this kind of newer Jasper. I guess Jasper 2.0 kind of start to form.
Yeah, because she starts wanting to fuse. She's interested in fusion, whereas before she was just so repelled by the idea.
Yeah,
especially for, you know, fusing, one, for non-like military reasons, and two, with another kind of gem.
Yeah,
both really disgusting to her, and now that's like all she wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. I love the way they went about showing Jasper's just her desperation, because it's so rare to see that like you're talking about, a candid moment with Jasper just completely just begging Lapis, you know, we could fly. I want to fly.
She is. I mean, and again, like she's not like. She gets like too close and she gets a little too assertive, but she never like forces Lapis to fuse. She takes her hand and she pleads with her. and like list all the reasons she can possibly think of from her perspective as a homeworld gem is why like fusing is a great idea. And Lapis still says no, and I think that really, really like shocks Jasper in a way, because it makes so much sense to her, and the fact that Lapis still doesn't want to do it, I think like really gets to her.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind Jasper, while Jasper definitely didn't act the best, Jasper never saw anything wrong with her actions before they fused.
She probably didn't, honestly.
Because,
which isn't okay, but like it's understandable.
Yeah, especially with the whole homeworld thing. You know, she was programmed like this. That's the separation. I think we have to keep in mind that in Steven Universe, the homeworld gems have literally just their programming. They don't really have ideas about free will. Jasper was basically bred from before birth. You are a war machine. And so, yeah, she's going to be ruthless. She's going to be aggressive.
Like, those are all qualities that she's seen her whole life as being good and valuable, and what makes her, like, an exceptional gem.
Right.
So, yeah, the fact that it's, like, not working now is probably, like, a huge, like, revelation to her.
Yeah, and again, it's not excusing. We're not like, oh, Jasper's great.
It's just
but you can kind of understand it. There's a tragedy there. And I feel like we're kind of doing Rebecca Sugar and the whole crew a disservice by writing Jasper off so quickly. We're kind of doing a disservice to the storyline and just the tragedy they built. It's very Shakespearean in a way, very Greek tragedy as well. Just the way they took this character whose whole thing was like the pride of their strength, and then they took that strength away, and we get to see them just crumble. And yeah, we see Jasper kind of get a second surge in the last arc, but they did just such a great job building up the character, I think, looking back. In the moment, it felt very sporadic, but looking back, they did such a great job building the character up. And I think it's honestly, especially this scene, I think Jasper's monologue has been dealt a disservice by being written off as being manipulative.
If you can take anything away from Jasper and Lapis, it's that it's complicated and nobody's in the right. Like, both people have done regretful things. And both people have been in positions where they were, not in control, and at the mercy of each other. And that's like a complicated thing. You can't just assign blame to one person in that case.
Life's messy. It's not cut and dry. And I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway from this storyline. It is not cut and dry. So we got to get out Lapis at some point, or we will be here all night. And I do only have a certain amount of time.
I know you did put this second, Justin. You should have known what you were doing.
I know. Next, we are going to go into Amethyst. So this was weird to me because
why?
No, not like a weird storyline. I like the storyline. What was weird to me, we knew they were both courts, but the way the storyline came, I did not expect this. If you had asked me in like May who Jasper would have like the big fight with, I would have said probably like Garnet again, or maybe Lapis or Peridot or Steven. I didn't expect a Jasper Amethyst feud like the way we got, and it kind of came out of nowhere. Not really. There was some build up to it, but it did. It kind of blindsided me, and I was impressed, and I enjoyed it a lot. I was pleasantly surprised, but I didn't think that Amethyst would get her time in the time to shine, time in the sun, whatever, through Jasper. I didn't expect that in the slightest. Did that catch you off guard at all, or did you anticipate it?
I did not anticipate it at all, but I think it ended up working really well. So I'm happy because like I'm always like the one who's like, I want more Amethyst. Like, I mean, like I want more Garnet too. Amethyst and Garnet need more characterization, like for real. But I'm so glad Amethyst is at least getting this, and I think there's so much about Jasper that just like fits so well into like what like Amethyst already established like insecurities about herself and her origins and like how she is. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't see it coming, but when it happened, I thought it was super plausible and good. Well done. But yeah, I didn't see it coming. I don't think many of us did.
No. So the way this kind of happened, we see Jasper in Alone at Sea, then we see Jasper again in Gem Hunt, I guess. And so we see Jasper come back, and we see Connie and Steven confront Jasper, and I think they had established at this point Jasper was a quartz just like Peridot. I'm pretty sure. Amethyst, yeah. I think they had talked about it. Or I think we knew they were both quartz. I don't think they'd really said.
Yeah, a lot of people figured it out from the guide to the crystal gems. So,
what a great book!
But I don't remember at what point in the show we found out, but I'm pretty sure we did in the show.
I think it was in
Paradox
beta.
probably said something.
I think it was in beta. But yeah, it was amazing. I think to see Jasper come back in Gem Hunt, and then immediately we saw it the next day.
Yeah, seriously.
Jasper confront Steven and Connie again. This time with Amethyst there. Amethyst, being the veteran, tries to stand up, protect Connie and Steven, gets just completely defeated. That's Crack the Whip, right? I think. Yeah, so we see Amethyst just get decimated by Jasper, and this kind of sparks something in Amethyst where Amethyst is like, I have to beat Jasper.
Yeah, because she's the thing about Amethyst, and I feel like this is something like I relate to on such a personal level. If you can be like, Amethyst is not a bad fighter. It's that Jasper like got into her head and was telling her all the things she already was insecure about.
Yep.
And so then she couldn't focus on fighting, and then she was worse at fighting, and then she like felt like that meant that it was true, and then she has all this stuff about her like self to prove, but just it was like a lot, but. It's like because like we know Amethyst feels weird about like coming from Earth, and that she's small and she's not supposed to be small because Paradox told her she's supposed to be like huge and look like Jasper, and like she feels like she's not like a full crystal gem or like a full gem, like that she's lacking in so many ways, and that's just so. That's why Steven versus Amethyst is such a good episode.
Oh yeah. And that, so we go right from Crack the Whip of Amethyst getting just completely beaten by Jasper to Amethyst feeling pretty lame about it, to then, fighting Steven in Steven versus Amethyst, and kind of, she kind of came to terms with it a bit. She kind of started to understand,
not completely at all. She still wants to fight Jasper, but she feels like...
She doesn't feel alone anymore.
Yeah. She doesn't feel like her struggle is alone either, because like Steven talks about how like much pressure he feels to live up to being his mom, and how they both just like they're trying their best and they admire each other, even though they also like, I think Amethyst to a way larger extent maybe just has like self-esteem problems, but like they both just like are imperfect and there for each other, and that's just so great. And they do reconcile enough to be able to fuse anyway. Later on.
Yeah, they do. They do end up, which is a beautiful, beautiful moment. We're about to get to that.
It's so good.
Then Amethyst, of course, Bismuth happens right after that. And Amethyst, you can tell, is a bit on edge. And then Beta, we really get kind of the build-up of the reveal that Jasper was made on Earth just like Amethyst.
Yeah.
That Amethyst was a lot closer to Jasper than she imagined.
And then it also puts into stark contrast just how different Jasper is from her.
Yeah.
Because like Paradox goes in being like, well, like Jasper's not that great. She was made in sandstone. Like, honestly, like you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah. And
then they get there and it's like, this is actually the most perfect exit hole I've ever seen in my entire life.
She's perfect.
Jasper is amazing. And I'm just like, oh my God, like what is my life? But then she fuses with Steven and beats Jasper, and that's when like the whole thing flips. And then it's like you go from being like, oh yeah, Amethyst, like, oh my God, Jasper, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
because that's Jasper's breaking point. Like, and
I think I think it took Jasper. It took a Jasper-like character to finally, because Amethyst is always kind of she has her insecurities, but she's hidden them when fighting monsters.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like,
that's the problem. She doesn't address them. She just like tries to push them away, and so they're always there.
It took something she couldn't beat. It took Jasper, the physical manifestation of all of her insecurities, to basically make her finally open up, make her finally break, and I think finally be at terms enough with herself and open up with Steven that they could fuse. Obviously, Pearl already kind of had an idea. They were able to fuse well enough.
I completely agree, though.
Opening up enough of Steven, I think the fact that it took Jasper to make that happen says a lot about Amethyst's feeling towards herself and Jasper.
Mm-hmm. It was a huge step for her in the right direction to accepting herself. I agree.
And that final line we see between Amethyst and Jasper, that final line, "I've got you, sis." That's when it was like, for all the fighting, for all of the anger from Amethyst, she was she was still able to just see. I think part of it was seeing Jasper get corrupted and just being like, okay, even though I wanted to beat you, not like this, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want this to happen to anyone.
Yeah, everyone reacted very strongly to the corruption in general. They just, didn't want to touch her because they didn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're just, very, very cautious because they've never seen a gem outside of, the explosion thousands of years ago get corrupted, and it's kind of new territory.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very interesting, I think, to see Jasper kind of open the door for a new arc, basically, or a new concept even in the show, and that's the corruption of modern-day gems.
Yeah.
It's for the first time we kind of worry about our own gems a bit. It's the first time we worry about, their... I mean, yeah, we've seen them get cracked a bit, but this is the first time we've worried about them becoming corrupt.
Yeah, especially when we know that corruption is not a fixable process yet. That's really scary.
Yeah.
Whereas a cracked gem is, so as long as Steven's around.
Yeah.
That's really, really scary.
Yeah, so that covers the amethyst stuff. Next we wanted to move on. Jasper and Rose. We know very, very little about this.
Very little.
But what we know is really interesting. Because Jasper basically says, Rose Quartz was also under Pink Diamond. This is what we knew. And so we find out basically Jasper was told from birth, you must destroy Rose Quartz because Rose Quartz destroyed your diamond.
Yeah. So Rose is older than Jasper, but Jasper, she says in her monologue, if she's seeing corruption, she's I came out of the earth fighting because
of you.
Of you.
Yeah.
My part of my purpose, or maybe all of it, was to defeat you because of what you did. And I physically should be able to do that. That's kind of why I was made, to be strong and tough and to crush crystal gems. And I think the fact that she couldn't destroy Rose is why she came back to Earth, because she had the score to settle. And I think for her, kind of like how Amethyst has a lot of issues tied to being really small and not feeling like she's good enough. I think Jasper, she has so much reliance on her strength that if she doesn't feel strong, she doesn't feel like anything, or that she deserves anything. And so the fact that she got corrupted, couldn't fuse, kept getting beat by fusions that she just hated the idea of over and over again. By the time Steven was willing to help her, she's if you're helping me, it's only because you think I'm so broken down and defeated that I would ever accept that from you. And that means I'm no good to Homeworld and I don't deserve anything, because if I'm useless, what am I good for? Nothing. You know? She'd rather be corrupted. And that's so tragic. And so who couldn't be sympathetic to that, you know?
Yeah. It was such a big thing where it's I don't think we realized at first, because they mentioned it.
Yeah,
I know they mentioned it in the book. I know they might have mentioned it in an earlier episode. They mentioned Jasper having fought against Rose Quartz in the Gem War, and we all thought, oh, that's a cool fact.
Yeah, she could be one of a million Jaspers. For all we know.
She's old. She's from the Gem War era. That's cool. There's backstory. None of us could have imagined the impact Rose Quartz had on Jasper.
Yeah. Especially if she really was made, in part or completely justify Rose, and she failed. She's already got a huge chip on her shoulder.
Yeah.
Before she comes into the show.
Yeah, I think it built such an interesting characterization for Jasper, and it explains so much about Jasper's earlier encounters with Steven. There's kind of one track mind of, you're Rose. I don't care what you look like. You are Rose. You have to be Rose. It's not a not understanding the idea that, this is Steven. Because, we kind of all thought it was kind of funny that, she thinks Steven's his mom. That's funny.
Well, I think partially that does make sense. Because, Bismuth also had a lot of trouble divorcing Steven from Rose.
Yeah.
I think it is a really hard concept for Homeworld gems to wrap their head around, because it's nobody exists like Steven but Steven.
Right.
So he's their first half gem ever, and that's a really hard concept for I think them to understand.
And I think especially with Jasper, she doesn't want to believe otherwise. And
because she wants to just be Rose. If this is she came back, if Steven's not Rose, what the heck is she gonna do?
It's
Rose
you have to be Rose Quartz because I have to beat you.
Exactly.
Which sets up a beautiful segue, and I did plan this segue right into Jasper and Steven, because Jasper thinks Steven is Rose, hence the rivalry continues. So, what would you say is probably the biggest thing about the Steven Jasper relationship that's not covered by rose quartz?
Steven, well, I mean, I think Steven, I mean, it's hard to say. So, because like Rose was also a general.
Yeah.
She was a leader. She made decisions that were tactical. Like one clear difference is like, I don't think Steven ever would have shattered, a diamond. No. Rose did. She did that like as a tactical, logical choice. But Steven has so much heart, I don't think he could do that. So I'd like to think that Steven wanting to help Jasper came more out of a place of compassion. Maybe? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Rose is pretty compassionate too, but
yeah.
I'd say maybe that would be the biggest difference. But it's hard to say. We only really see things from Steven's perspective. Right. So
we see Steven's perspective and what Jasper says about it. So we haven't gotten Rose's input at all. We've never heard Rose talk about Jasper.
Yeah.
And also, what if Jasper's such a big deal, right? If Jasper was this perfect soldier made to fight rose quartz, why do Pearl and Garnet not remember? Why do they not talk? Wouldn't they have freaked out more at the sight of Jasper if this was someone who had almost beaten rose quartz?
Actually, that's not. I don't think so, because again, they were doing their own crystal gem thing. Jasper came onto the scene after Pink Diamond was shattered.
Yeah.
So I think they might have never seen Jasper. Jasper didn't even defeat Rose, so maybe she had a couple battles with her and Pearl was involved, but I mean, I don't think it's and then they were on Earth for forever, so it's not like they had the same kind of mythos built up around Jasper that Homeworld did.
Right.
So it's possible they just didn't have very many interactions with her during the war at all, even though it sounds like Jasper clearly was trying to, shatter Rose at any potential opportunity.
Right. I guess they wouldn't have seen each other quite as much as we'd like to think.
Or maybe they did recognize her and they just didn't say anything. It's hard to say.
Yeah, that's what I want to know is do the gems remember Jasper at all?
It's a good question.
I doubt we'll ever get an answer to that, but
we might. If when Jasper becomes unpoofed, maybe we'll get answered. They will not leave her like that. I mean, we were saying, Justin, it would do such a disservice to just call Jasper a villain. It would do just as much disservice to Jasper to just leave her as a bubbled, non-fixable, non-addressable problem. That'd be so awful if the show did that. I can't believe that they would. So the other alternative is, yes, she becomes unpoofed and we talk about stuff.
I believe Jasper will come back the day Centipedal comes back. If Centipedal ain't coming back, ain't nobody coming back.
I think Centipedal is definitely coming back before Jasper comes back, because, what are you going to do with the corrupted Jasper if you don't, have your stuff figured out?
I think we're going to uncorrupt Centipedal first.
Yeah.
I
have no problem with.
The final battle against Homeworld. You've got, all the diamonds against Steven, the crystal gems, Lapis Peridot, a small army of Centipedals.
Oh my god.
Jasper and Lion and Connie, and that is it.
I honestly don't know if Jasper's ever I really don't know if she would ever be a crystal gem. I feel and that's because what Rebecca was saying in that interview, the difference between Jasper and Peridot and Lapis is Peridot and Lapis thought they deserved better than what gave them, and Jasper really doesn't believe that. She's so steeped in the idea that her entire worth as a person is determined by her physical strength and her ability to be the fighter she was made to be, that I don't know if she would ever be willing to give that up for what she assumes is a worthless, pathetic, gross, sham of an army,
Definitely, I don't think Jasper will ever become a crystal gem. Do you think Jasper would fight by them in one battle? Show up, help them win, knowing that they have the same enemy, and then walk off into the sunset? Would she ever work with them for one fight against Yellow Diamond?
If her perception of Homeworld was drastically changed by new information, I think maybe, yeah.
I mean,
I don't think she'd ever be buddy at this point.
I mean, what has Homeworld ever done for Jasper?
I mean, they probably honored her a lot.
Yeah,
and,
they honored her.
They built her up. I mean,
but
and
her
again,
diamond's dead.
But again, that's just the society she comes from. She doesn't expect all these things. She feels like what she's gotten is enough. So why would she question it?
But Jasper, from what we've seen, we don't know of any other denizens of Pink Diamond's court that's alive. To the best of our knowledge, it's Jasper and Steven. To the best of our knowledge, those are the only 2 gems left from Pink Diamond. So we don't know. Jasper might be the only one without a diamond. Jasper doesn't fit into the hierarchy anymore. Jasper. Well, they honor Jasper.
She got adopted into Yellow Diamonds.
Still,
she's wearing yellow diamonds on her clothes.
Yeah, she is an honorary or adopted member of Yellow Diamond's court. But from what we've seen of Homeworld, Peridot, that's her diamond, and we see her always say, "My diamond." Yeah. We never hear her say Yellow Diamond unless she's being more specific after saying "my diamond." Jasper doesn't act the same way about Yellow Diamond. Even after thousands of years, Jasper hasn't adopted that. And I think that says a lot that Jasper is programmed for her diamond. Jasper is programmed to be a servant of Pink Diamond. She might go with Yellow Diamond and be under her, in gem culture, but I don't think she has the same programming for Yellow Diamond that Jasper does, or that Peridot does. And I think that can come into play.
I guess. I also think the programming is more in, the gems' heads than anything. I don't think it really matters that much. It's one of those things where if you believe in it, it's real.
Yeah.
But the second you question it, it becomes it doesn't matter.
But the thing is, she was probably when she lost her diamond, she stopped believing that she had to worship the diamonds, I think.
I don't know about you mean Jasper?
Yeah, Jasper.
Wait,
I think
No. She totally still worships the diamonds. Why would she still be with them if that was the case?
What other option does she have?
Exactly. It's her whole world. It's her whole
So I think
culture.
She goes along with it. I don't think she has that same devotion that Peridot does, or did.
Oh my god. Well, I think Peridot's devotion was more of just a kind of blind, childy, esque kind of just devotion. But exactly. I feel Jasper's just more. She's very calculating, and I just think it's different. But I wouldn't say it's any less than Peridot's, because clearly she's the one who's refused to join the Crystal Gems against. She's also been stripped of everything. She refused. I think that says something about her devotion to the world.
I don't think Jasper is necessarily still with the diamonds. I just think Jasper doesn't want to join the Crystal Gems. I think she doesn't want to be a part of anything. She wants to be Jasper and have her little Jasper army.
I don't know.
She doesn't want to be the 7th Crystal Gem or the umpteenth million Homeworld Gem. She wants to be the first Jasper.
That's an interesting theory. I feel I'm going to have to think about it more.
We're just throwing out all kinds of big ideas
We're
tonight.
throwing out all kinds of things.
So, Steven, I feel, is impacted more by this. We see in Mindful Education the impact Jasper had on Steven. Do you think that's going to be resolved until... Do you think that'll be resolved before or after Jasper comes back?
His feelings about his mom?
Or well, that too, but that's just a question of timing of narratives. But no, do you think that he will kind of put to rest the struggle he has about poofing Jasper? Before... I know he didn't.
Jasper.
But still, he has those feelings that he couldn't help Jasper. Do you think that'll be resolved before or after Jasper's return?
Oh, I would hope before, but it might not be. Or it could be one of those things where they touch on it a couple times, but it's in no way clearly resolved. Yeah. They're it's a discussion they're having and he's considering things. Well, but yeah, it's hard to say. I would prefer that it was before.
Well, that's going to raise a question as far as how long is it going to take for Jasper to come back?
Oh my god. It took so long to get them unfused, and then she was gone in an instant. So I don't even know. I just don't want to feel I don't want to get my hopes up so they can be crushed by it being another season and a half or something.
I was going to say, to be fair, Jasper popped up once in season 2, and that was in Chillitude.
Oh man, but then it was just so sad. It was sad to see both of them.
Season 3 was Jasper.
That was really great.
Yeah, Jasper.
If Jasper's around, you can bet that it's not going to be good, either for Jasper or the Crystal Gems. So maybe it's better that we wait for a while in that sense.
Okay, we had our cooldown. We had our Onion Gang. We had our last one out of Beach City. We're getting our gem harvest. Dang it, I'm ready for the conflict. Let's do it.
Oh man. But again, like I don't think they're not gonna do that until they know what to do about her being corrupted, because like
true.
Again, she could corrupt all of them in a second if they unpoof her now. So like they need to figure that out first. So probably centipedal stuff will happen before Jasper stuff.
Yep. We got a lot of arcs to wrap up first.
We got a lot of arcs to wrap up.
So that does raise a question. Jasper and corruption. What does Jasper... Do you think that corruption is going to become a bigger thing again? Because it was big in season 3 and now it's kind of died down. Do you think we're going to talk more about corruption because of Jasper?
For sure. Steven really wants to, help Centipede and all the rest of... And also, the cluster's, corrupted and shattered. And I think Steven still really, really wants to help them out. And that's another plot thread that, is not resolved. Being bubbled is not a resolution at all. It's going to come back. We all know it's going to come back, so...
Yeah, it's that's not resolution.
I think the fact that Jasper got corrupted is what sealed the whole corruption is going to be a huge issue at some point deal, because we can't just leave Jasper alone like that. So I absolutely think it will be later on.
Yeah. So what do you personally think that Jasper's corruption is contagious?
Yeah.
Is it just through fusion, or if she touched Steven?
I think definitely through fusion. If she just touched him, I don't know. But I think there's a 45% chance he could get corrupted just through touching.
Yeah.
We don't know. Right? We don't know at this point, but it's definitely if it can spread through contact at all, then maybe it could spread just through any kind of contact. It's such a newly introduced thing that we don't really quite know the rules, but Jasper got it through fusion, so definitely through fusion it can be transferable, it looks like.
Yeah. Which, whole nother metaphor there we're not going to get into right now, because we do not have the time for that kind of metaphoric discussion. But point is, the Z spreading through fusion, wonder what that's for. Have you heard the theories and the discussions about this?
I can imagine.
I mean, it's not a subtle metaphor.
One thing that's interesting to say about that is she didn't get that corruption until she tried to force the fusion for real. Yep. The first time she's ever tried to force a fusion, and then she got corrupted.
Yep.
So I wonder if that's involved in some way too, because it's not the first time she's fused with a corrupted gem either, and she came out fine the first couple times.
Yeah.
So maybe the show is trying to say something about forcing fusion too, and bad things resulting from it.
The day that all the fusion metaphors become very clear and simple will be the day that the show ends.
Justin, that's never going to happen. I think they purposefully leave it pretty open, which is good, because then you can assign all these different meanings to it.
But it also divides the fandom into many little divisions.
Maybe. I don't know.
Kind of what I want to talk about was, should Jasper return? Narratively, we agree, yes, Jasper must return.
Yeah.
On a meta perspective, though, a lot of people don't like Jasper. Do you think it's almost detrimental to the show at this point to bring in Jasper because of just all the controversy?
No! Of course you should bring her back. Jasper exists on the show for a reason, right? You don't have to like her, but she exists for a reason, and therefore she should have as decent treatment as any other character that is considered important. It's honestly hard for me to judge how important the show thinks she is, because even though we've gotten great development, we've had so few episodes with her, and I'm still really I was really scared when in Super Watermelon Island they unfused and she just fell into the ocean, and it was okay, we're gonna not deal with that for a while. I was that felt kind of like a smack to the face as someone who really liked Jasper. I'm why is the show doing this? And there's still the potential for that, right? Who knows how long it'll be till they unbubble her? Who knows what they're gonna do with her? It could be really unsatisfying. It could be really quick and awkward and annoying for fans. We don't know, but I think that potential's still there. I just hope in my heart of hearts that the show doesn't go that way, and even if her outcome is not good, it makes sense and it's understandable in the context of the show. That's all I want. And hopefully that's what we'll get.
That's fair. So that brings us to the end of our Jasper discussion. Do you have any final words?
#unpoof Jasper.
#unpoof Jasper. It's not going to be this year. #unpoof Jasper 2017.
Oh god.
Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, sure. Probably is.
I mean, we're not getting episodes till November. We have to deal with Centipedal first. 2017 seems accurate.
That's true. That's only like 2 months until the next. Yeah, okay.
Hashtag Unpooped Jasper 2017. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. This, I know, has been a very Justin ranty kind of podcast.
Gotta take a breath, get some water, walk around, process all your thoughts.
Go to another meeting. That's my life. So thank you guys so much. If you want to support us, we love iTunes reviews. Leave us iTunes reviews. We prefer on the main feed. You can also leave them on our specific show feeds. This will be on the Steven Universe one. If you got any feedback for us, we're not going to do a feedback podcast on this, but I love reading stuff. Leave comments on YouTube. Leave comments on the article on the website, on Tumblr. You can send it to my Tumblr if you want. Michelle, can I send it to your Tumblr?
Sure, you can send it to my Tumblr.
You can send it to her Tumblr. Just don't yell at me to her Tumblr, because that'd make her sad.
That'd be really funny.
If you can leave comments on Stitcher, do that.
I don't know if you can. Yeah, we don't know anything about Stitcher.
We don't know how Stitcher works, but if this is a possibility, feel free to do it. Thank you guys. Another way you can support us, besides iTunes reviews, if you feel so inclined that you like us enough, you think we deserve your financial support, you can become a patron. You go to patreon.com/overlyanimated. You get all kinds of cool perks based on the different levels. You get your name read on every podcast. You get a patron-exclusive nickname. We do live streams for our patrons. We have a Facebook group. We have all kinds of cool stuff. But only if you go to patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you so much to our current patrons: Mitch, Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, Jamie, Rachel, John, Ryan, Catherine, Taylor, Devon, Jade, John, Phoenician, Victoria, and Katrin, aka, here are those nicknames I mentioned earlier: Fever Mitch, Cordell University, Beatrix Lestrange, Nathan Fillion, Buzz Lightyear, Mailman, Rachel Rose, Johnny Bravo, Brian, Cookie Cat, Needle, Diamond Day, Jewel, Garfield, Fusion, Skylark, Patron, Katrin. There's a lot of you. There are so many of you.
Please. More come.
Yes, we want more. I want
Justin
to get to 2.
Struggle even harder.
I have to take my breath twice. That's the next goal. Upcoming podcasts. We should be doing Powerpuff Girls soon, I think, right, Michelle?
I think so, yeah.
Is that this week?
The what?
I don't do it. Is it this week?
I don't know.
There might be a Powerpuff Girls podcast at some point.
Be.
If Star is on next week, there'll be a Star podcast. Yeah. Ladybug at some point. Some Steven Roundtable next week. We're in a weird lull, guys, where it's like nothing's on. Yeah. I think Justin, Star's on.
When are we gonna do the Ponyo episode?
That's a great question. Michelle and I have a Ponyo podcast planned.
When is that happening?
Oh gosh, do you want to either this weekend or next weekend?
Jesus
I think
Christ.
Sundays are going to be our movie days, if that's cool with you.
Okay, I can
either Sunday
prepare.
or Monday. So
we both
movies.
have to watch the dub though, because that's what
Ponyo.
the discussion's going to come from.
So,
the awful dub.
So, backstory on that, if you didn't hear, there's a waiting list where we have to sign up for Ghibli and Pixar movies.
Silly.
But we signed up. I asked Dylan last podcast if Michelle and I could do Ponyo. There was no waiting list for that movie. Surprise!
What a surprise!
So we've now taken it under our wing as our baby, and we will be doing a podcast on it at some point.
One of our listeners was commenting about The Cat Returns. Yeah. We should see if we can do that too, because I really like that movie. Thank you, person who suggested it. I would love to do that.
So listen, Michelle and I have been doing quite a few podcasts on our own lately. We did a movie one on Girl Who Left Through Time. We did the Total Drama Island podcast. That was
so crazy.
You give it 2 whole hoots. I give it 2 whole hoots.
I actually do. That was a really fun one.
That was a fun one. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.